She tried one of Colorado's most high-profile cases. Now the Chaffee County DA finds herself in some legal trouble, which could cost her her law license. Testimony in the trial to get former President Trump removed from Colorado's ballot focused on his words and the intent of those words. Thousands of migrants have found shelter in Denver. Some of them now find themselves on the streets at danger of being swept.
This is just cruel to treat people in this way and spend 2 weeks welcoming them just to tell them the next day that they're going to be criminals.
Haunted houses are not for everyone, but they should be.
Not scary at all.
High school students are setting up scares with no limitations. All treats, no tricks. Tonight on Next. The very public failures of a district attorney in a high-profile case could lead to the end of her law license. The state's top court will consider a complaint against Republican Chaffee County DA Linda Stanley following several missteps in the criminal case against Barry Morphew in the disappearance of his wife, Suzanne. Our Mark Salinger's breaking this story this evening. Joins us live from Canyon City. Mark, this has come up pretty quick here.
Yeah, Marshall, the top elected prosecutor here in Fremont County as well as in Chaffee County is now under investigation tonight by the state Supreme Court. It comes after a complaint filed by the Office of Attorney Regulation Counsel yesterday that alleges a long list of wrongdoings against District Attorney Linda Stanley, which could eventually lead to her losing her law license. Now, District Attorney Stanley brought charges against Barry Morphew in 2021, who was charged with killing his missing wife. She later dropped those charges just days before the trial was supposed to start. We've known the Attorney Regulation Council has been investigating Stanley for several years now, but the filing with the Supreme Court is a major escalation in this case. It alleges she did many things wrong, including speaking up to a podcast about the Morphew case, showing up late repeatedly for court, launching a clandestine investigation against the judge, and discovery violations.
It's extraordinarily unusual for a prosecutor to have any kind of disciplinary action brought against them. Complaints are filed, but they don't usually get very far. But this is a far-ranging set of complaints, and if proven, certainly should warrant significant discipline against District Attorney Linda Stanley.
That's 9 News legal expert Scott Robinson. Now, we know tonight that one of the people who filed a complaint with the Office of Attorney Regulation Counsel is the judge that presided over the Morphew case. We reached out to Linda Stanley today to get her comment. Marshall, we haven't heard back.
Mark, you followed this case extensively. I know you know some of these issues that are in the complaint, like the defense attorneys trying to get information from the DA's office that should just be basic because it's the rules of law. What about the complaint deals with that?
Yeah, so in this complaint, it alleges that District Attorney Stanley was texting with YouTubers, true crime YouTubers who had a podcast, and she was telling them more information than she was telling the defense attorneys that were asking for information in court. That's part of a long list of discovery violations that now, like we've been talking about, could lead to her disbarment.
And the fact that a judge is involved in one of the complaints, I think, gives it a little more weight. Thanks, Mark. Thanks for making it down there so quickly. When do words mean more than words? Language and extremism were the focus of day 2 in the trial to disqualify former President Trump from being on the ballot in Colorado. Peter Sinney, a professor from Chapman University in California, testified throughout the day on extremism and political violence. For Trump to be in violation of the 14th Amendment, which could result in him being disqualified from running for future office, it has to be proven he engaged in an insurrection. The professor's testimony tried to link several years of Trump's words with violent actions.
The relationship that they developed with Donald Trump over multiple years, the various signals, including everything from the things we've discussed at the rallies in terms of promoting or endorsing violence, the things done over social media, the messages in regards to various types of outgroups that are identified by far-right extremists that align with many of the things that Trump said over the years. So that relationship that was established and built really, I think, underscores how much influence he has for far-right extremists.
The trial is expected to last through the week with testimony on the history of the 14th Amendment and how it plays a role 155 years after it was ratified. A ruling by the judge, though, likely won't be until later in November. More migrants, many from Venezuela, are homeless, on the street after timing out of their time in the shelter. Homeless advocates worry the mayor's office will now sweep one large encampment with at least 15 tents with migrants. Our Angeline McCall is here in studio today after visiting that encampment today.
Almost 2,000 migrants are currently in shelters, and there's a limit to how long they can stay. So often, migrants know they've got to leave the shelter without knowing where to go next. Many on their last day are still struggling to find work and, in turn, money for housing, so their only option is to be on the street. Dozens of people have been living at an encampment off Zunai Street with at least 15 tents there.
La verdad nos sentimos mal todo porque mira, estamos durmiendo en la calle, no algo dormir seguro, el frío. Los niños duermen en la calle, pasan frío y eso pues.
So that land belongs to Denver Parks and Rec, so it doesn't have the same protocol as a normal sweep that comes under DPD as well as the city. And homeless advocates say they were told the area could be swept as early as tomorrow. Amy Beck says she's worried because the mayor's team promised they wouldn't do sweeps without having another alternative for folks. But in this case, they have nowhere else to go.
This is horrific. This is horrible. We cannot continue to treat people this way, and this is just the beginning. This is going to go on all winter long, and what we are doing today is unacceptable.
We reached out to the mayor's team to ask if this goes against Johnson's homelessness initiative. We also reached out to the Parks and Rec team to ask if they do plan to sweep the area, and if so, when. We did not hear back from either of them.
It's a good thing that we don't go back to the mayor's office with questions. I mean, we've had this question for weeks now about his own policy, and I assume that the people who are living on the street and the migrants would probably have assumed also that they were safe there, knowing that if they were going to get swept off the street, it would be into another shelter.
Right. Well, I think they know that they can't go to another shelter. They have really clear guidelines in the shelter system that this is the day you come, this is the day you leave. So that is very clear. But what isn't clear, right, this is a city that they don't know very well. They don't even know how to get around the city. And so to them, this does look like public land. It looks like an area where, you know, they could kind of have some free reign. And in this case, right, they set up shop there. They set up their tents. They set up their life there so that they can have this little in between while they're trying to make ends meet and, you know, finally settle. And in this case, you know, now they have to go someplace else.
This is interesting. It's the bridge between being a migrant and perhaps being seen as someone experiencing homelessness, and then do you get to do things in a different way? If you're swept, you're supposed to be offered shelter, but if you're a migrant, the rules are a little bit different. But hopefully we'll hear back from the mayor's office on the solution to this. Thank you, Angeline. A new homelessness initiative is taking the focus off of just Denver and will provide Jefferson County its first year-round shelter beds. The state will use federal funds to set up what's being called regional navigation campuses for people experiencing homelessness. There will be 5 of them. The sites will provide several shelter options and access to employment programs and housing resources. They'll be located in Denver, Aurora, Boulder, Englewood, and Jefferson County, where there will soon be 75 to 150 year-round shelter beds in a part of the metro area where there are currently none.
Homelessness isn't contained within just one area. A lot of people may be in the downtown Denver area because that's where services exist. But if services existed in the communities that they consider to be more like their home, they would stay closer to those services.
State lawmakers created the fund to cover the costs in 2022 using federal pandemic money. The state will award $52 million in grants for these first 5 campuses. School safety brought on a student walkout in Green Valley Ranch as students wanted to get the attention of Denver public school leaders. They walked out of class today at Martin Luther King Jr. High Early College to protest the district's security policies. Protesters say they're worried about a classmate who beat up another student. They say that classmate, who is accused of a crime, was allowed back in school after spending time in custody. Students we spoke with today say they want the district to expel students who get in serious trouble with the law. This issue has come up before because of security concerns at other schools like McAuliffe International. On 2 occasions, DPS denied a request to expel 2 students accused of attempted murder, in part because the incidents happened off school grounds. About 50% or more of you, who am I kidding? Us, vote in the last 2 days. So I know you're still holding on to your ballot. I am. Which means it's too late to put it in the mail. As of yesterday, though, more than 420,000 ballots had been returned. You can drop your ballot off at 130 voting centers and 400 drop boxes across the state, and find the one closest to you at govotecolorado.gov. We also have a comprehensive list on 9news.com. No surprise here, it is the young voters holding on to their ballots. At last count, more than 70% of the ballots returned were from voters 55 or older. Tonight's next question comes from Terry in Aurora. She wants to know why there are no party affiliations listed on her Aurora ballot. Terry, the short answer is state law. Candidates for municipal offices shall be nominated without regard to affiliation. That means no letter next to the name of council and mayoral candidates. There are 105 home rule cities, municipalities, and towns. Find yours on the screen right now. From Alamosa and Aurora to Denver and Durango, Edgewater to Lone Tree, Longmont to Yuma, Avon to Mount Crested Butte, and Newcastle to Winter Park. Any of these could change their charters to include party affiliation on local races. Erie is voting next week to adopt a home rule charter. If it passes, Erie will be added to this list, and Keystone will be on this list once they have a special election in January to elect their first council.
We ran out of our first shipment here. We're waiting for our next one probably next week, and we're going to keep trying to protect our kids.
Doctors have tough choices to make as a vital drug for kids falls into short supply. Colorado lawmakers eye new water cuts, which could limit the grass that needs to be cut. And a haunted house that'll make you smile. No, really, we promise. That's next. The country's newest ambassador to Israel has a Colorado connection. The Senate confirmed Jacob Lew to be the U.S. ambassador to Israel today. The country had been without one since this summer. He's the father of CDOT director Shoshana Lew, who's sitting right behind him. Both worked under President Obama. Shoshana Lew worked in several roles in the Obama administration. Her father, Jacob, served as Treasury Secretary for Obama's second term. What was supposed to be a major drug in the fight against RSV is now in short supply. So low, in fact, pediatricians say they've had to limit who can get one. Nursivimab is a newly approved antibody drug meant for little kids. Last year was one of the worst in the country for kids in RSV. It put serious pressure on hospitals to the point where ICU beds were limited, and Children's Hospital Colorado said their patient load was 30% higher than previous years. Now the CDC says supplies of this drug are so tight, doctors should prioritize the infant dosage size for babies 6 months and younger or kids with underlying conditions. Doctors here say doses are going quickly.
There's some of that supply still available, so we are ordering, and it takes like 2 weeks for it to get here. So we ran out of our first shipment here. We're waiting for our next one probably next week, and we're going to keep trying to protect our kids.
I know, Dr. Manny. While patients are advised to be patient, the State Department of Public Health says they're not seeing anywhere close to the number of RSV cases they saw last year at this time, and doctors are hopeful this season will be less rough than last year. Bills that can change Colorado law do not get hearings and official votes until the legislature starts in January. But this month, several committees that meet in the off-season have voted on bills that will be introduced in a couple of months. Today, it was water policy, and state lawmakers moved forward a bill on useless grass while stalling on a bill about water conservation, basically for farmers. A bill restricting turf grass installation is headed to the legislature. As written right now, it would restrict local governments and HOAs from installing non-functional or invasive plants unless it serves a purpose like parks, sports fields, or playgrounds. So no more grass in the medians. The committee killed a proposed bill regarding water conservation. The proposal would have allowed Colorado's biggest water users to voluntarily cut their water usage without giving up their water rights for good. Fear of losing water rights has kept some farmers and ranchers from conserving. It does not mean that proposal's off the table for good. A lawmaker could still draft their own bill during the legislative session. And now weather with Chris Bianchi.
I don't know why you needed to enunciate that, Marshall Zellinger, but just want to get to that forecast here. It's still a little bit chilly out there, obviously. It's going to be a bit icy for some of that trick-or-treating. So if you are heading out there this evening, it's going to be, again, maybe a little bit slippery in a few spots. Dry week ahead. High temperatures for your day today, 40s, 50s here on the Eastern Plains, 30s and 40s for us here into the high country. So we're generally running about 10 degrees below average for us in terms of our day today. But for tonight, we'll actually see those clouds increase. And what that means, we're going to be talking about some of that increased cloud cover that'll insulate us a little bit. Low temperatures drop down to around 30 degrees, clear skies, and just watch out for some of that patchy black ice and some of those maybe sidewalks and walkways haven't been cleared yet. Otherwise, I don't think we're talking about anything too widespread, but that Halloween forecast kind of get you in a bit more detail on that. It's clear, cool, breezy. Again, maybe just a little bit of patchy black ice in a few spots. Not a big deal. Temperatures in the 40s, dropping back into the upper 30s between now and about 9 p.m. Some of that high cloud cover filtering on in for your day tomorrow. So you'll probably notice a bit more cloud cover for tonight, and especially for your day tomorrow. Mid to high level cloud cover in place here across the state. Not a big deal. Nothing coming from those clouds, and those temperatures for your day tomorrow. We'll be talking about those upper 50s and some of those 60s in place for us here on the Eastern Plains. A few spots here in the Southeastern Plains close to 70 degrees, 40s, 50s for friends here into the high country. And that 7-day forecast. Oh, look at that. Absolutely beautiful out there. Sorry, my nose getting in the way of that forecast for your Saturday, but otherwise here, folks, mostly above average over the next few days.
I like the people at the hop up and staring everyone, and that is my most favorite part.
A haunted house with fewer haunts. A high school community makes sure everyone can get in on a holiday tradition, Halloween tradition that is, and that's next. What's the spookiest thing you ever did in science class? For me, it was just attending science class. I was awful at science. Dissecting a frog is about as Halloween as it gets, but not at 5280 High School. Our Brian Wenlin was there as the kids gave out scares for science and a good cause.
Halloween is Eric Crickbaum's favorite holiday.
Nice.
So this haunted house is a treat.
Nice. I like the people at the hop up and staring everyone, and that is my most favorite part.
Oh, as you can see, I mean, I got scared. I don't know about everyone else. But.
Santiago Caquis isn't supposed to be scared. He built this haunted house with his classmates at 5280 High School.
So basically, we created a haunted house for people with neurodivergent, basically disabilities, because we want to be at service to the community.
Scares as Service, a fun way to fulfill the project-based learning mission of this school for kids in recovery.
So we're learning about the neuroscience of fear, what parts of the brain are triggered, what creates fears, and so our demonstration of learning is by creating a house of horrors.
Nick Harris is the science department's director.
The relationships that we build here are really deep, and I get to have a meaningful impact on the lives of students.
He says building community inside the school is just as important as serving the one outside it.
It is just crucial for the integrity of this school that we have tight-knit relationships.
It seems like we get to connect a lot more with each other and learn more about each other and how we can process and be together as a community.
It's what makes this place and these projects so special for Santiago.
That is so funny.
Even if the scares got more laughs than screams.
Not scary at all.
For Next, I'm Brian Wendland.
Oh boy, we have feedback about one of us, not me, making an ass of ourselves tonight. Our feedback tonight, George from Highlands Ranch, what a sense of humor. Chuck from Tacoma, Washington, well played, Chris. Chris B.
Well, yeah, I guess closed captioning really did me dirty, didn't it?
So we got to look at the closed captioning from the Highlands Ranch tornado when Crispy Donkey was translated accidentally into...
Crispy Donkey. And here we are. Sorry, I'm married, ladies, but yes, indeed, here we are with this Crispy Donkey costume.
Never been able to live it down on the day that I actually call you by your real name. So there you go. What are you going to dress up for as Halloween now?
I think this has got to be an annual thing now, right? We'll find out.
We'll find out next time. Marshall and Crispy.